The Giza Pyramids are located on the Giza Plateau in the Giza Governorate on the western bank of the Nile. It was built around 25 centuries BC, between 2480 and 2550 BC. It includes 3 pyramids, which are Khufu, Khafra and Menkaure. The pyramids, according to one of the hypotheses, are royal tombs, each bearing the name of the king who built and was buried therein. And the hierarchical construction here is a stage of the development of the tomb architecture in ancient Egypt. It started with a small hole that turned into an underground room and then into several rooms topped by a bench. After that, it evolved to take the form of the pyramid included by the engineer Imhotep, the minister of Pharaoh, and King Djoser of the 3rd dynasty. This was followed by 2 attempts by King Snefru, the founder of the 4th dynasty, to build a complete hierarchical form. But the back of the 2 pyramids is not a proper shape. They are located in Dahshur, one flattened at the base and the other in a smaller shape, approximately half the size of the first. The engineer, Himyono, the engineer of King Khufu, was able to accomplish the ideal hierarchical form and constructed the Pyramid of Khufu in Giza on an area of 13 acres, followed by Khafra and Menkaure. The other hypothesis is that the people of Aad are the builders of the pyramids based on numerous evidence and clues, one of which is that the Pharaonic civilization is a clay and not a rocky civilization, and that the Pharaonic civilization found the pyramids on the ground and benefited from them and centered around their greatness. As for the idea of the pyramids specifically, their hierarchical form was related to the idea of the emergence of the universe, and they also believed that, according to some of their writings and religious texts, that the pyramid and its method helped the soul of the deceased to reach the sky with the idol Ra. Among these means are many that can help them ascend to heaven. We also see the hierarchical form at the top of the obelisks and some small tombs for individuals in southern Egypt. Even when the kings of the modern state thought about building their tombs on the western mainland in the Valley of the Kings and clipped them in the interior of the mountain to protect them from theft. It took nearly 20 years to build the Great Pyramid and build the corridors and lower parts of the pyramid 10 years, according to Herodotus, the Greek historian who visited Egypt in the 4th century BC after more than 2,000 years of building the pyramid and heard these accounts and other priests and narrators. The stones that were used to build the Great Pyramid were cut from the area surrounding the pyramid, the outer covering stones from the Jebel Torah area, and the granite stones used in the inner rooms from Aswan quarries, and they were brought in by the Nile River, which was reaching the pyramid area at that time. The stones were cut and separated from each other by making holes at close distances in the piece of stone to be cut. Then some wooden pegs were hammered in it and the roads were put on them with water placed on them, and as the wood was drunk with water, its size increased within the stone, and as the roads continued on it they separated from each other and then refine and polish it using a stronger stone type like granite or diorite. The ancient Egyptians used a sandy road to build the pyramids, where the pieces of stones are placed on wooden sleds underneath round palm trunks that work like wheels, from top to bottom, and gradually remove the sand. Many people believe that the greatness of the pyramid lies in the way it is built, and in fact, this hadith has an aspect of health. For example, the Great Pyramid is an artificial mountain that weighs 6,500,000 tons, and is made of stones each weighing approximately 12 tons. And these stones are paved and tuned to a point of half a millimeter, and this really deserves the full admiration of ancient Egyptian civilization. But the matter is much greater than that. because the pyramid is one of the biggest puzzles that humankind has faced since the beginning of civilization. Many have claimed that it is just a luxurious cemetery of King Khufu. But scholars of the present times believe that this view is ridiculous, as the Great Pyramid was built for a higher and much greater purpose. Evidence of this is the amazing facts of this great edifice that Charles Smith collected in the famous book Our Heritage at the Great Pyramid, in 1864 AD. The height of the pyramid multiplied by a billion equals 14,967,000 kilometers, which is the distance between the Earth and the Sun. And the orbit that passes at the center of the pyramid is divided. The continents of the world into two halves are completely equal, and that the basis of the pyramid divided by twice its height gives us the famous circle constant number 3.14 contained in the calculators, and that the four pillars of the pyramid are heading to the four original directions in amazing accuracy. So that some scientists have once pointed out that there is a slight deviation angle from the original directions. But after the discovery of modern electronic devices for measurement, it was established that the pyramid angles are the most correct and accurate. One of the most impressive things about creating these pyramids is how accurate the construction of the internal corridors, the antechamber and the king's burial chamber. As for the pyramid of the famous pharaoh Khawara in Menkori, the scientists have noticed that it contains a small circular gap with a diameter not exceeding 20 centimeters. Archaeologists were able to know the secret of the existence of this gap after a very careful observation, as it was found that sunlight enters through that gap only one day per year to the tomb of the pharaoh from Khawra completely. And it is surprising that this day coincides with the birthday of the pharaoh. Figure 1. A section in the Great Pyramid. 1. The original entrance. 2. Al-Mamun entrance, the present entrance. 3. A meeting place between the bearish and bearish corridors. 4. Downward corridor. 5. Underground room in the rock. 6. Upward passage. 7. Queen's chamber. 2 upward tunnels. 8. Corridor horizontal. 9. The large lobby. 10. King's room and 2 upward tunnels. 11. A foyer to enter the coffin and the closing stones of the king's room. 12. The exit tunnel and a cave. Khufu was succeeded by his father Sanfru, and his mother is the queen, Hatep-Haris I, and Khufu 2650 BC is the acronym for Kachnum Khufu, meaning, Kachnim is the one who protects me. History reminds Khufu that he is the greatest building on earth, the Great Pyramid of Giza, the only surviving miracle of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Its greatness is due not only to the magnitude of its construction, but also to its impressive compact interior layout. A cemetery was built around it, containing small pyramids for his wives and mother, Hatep-Haris, in addition to tombs in the form of terraces for members of the royal family and senior officials. The original height of the Great Pyramid is 146 meters and is now approximately 137 meters, and its base length is 230 meters. As for the weights of cutting stones, they range from 1 to 8 tons or more. But can we imagine that this king of this giant building only found one very small statue of about 7.5 centimeters in size and from late ages? As the king prevented at this time the erection or carving of any statues, where we did not find large statues in this period is but one statue, and it was hidden in the cemetery of Prince Rahotep and his wife. And perhaps the king wanted to start himself to prevent the erection of statues. King Khufu called his pyramid a name, Sister of Khufu, meaning the horizon of Khufu. Due to the religious changes that occurred in his era, Stadman made it clear that Khufu deviated from the Egyptian faith and established himself as a god. King Khufu's pyramid has not been spared the destruction throughout the ages. Diodor of Sicily indicated that the top of the Great Pyramid is a platform about 3 meters wide and 2 meters long. But the top of the pyramid is not a platform but rather a pyramid that may have been covered with gold. Part of its cover was destroyed and lost. It was surrounded by the Pyramid of King Khufu, whose remains are still present in the eastern and northern sides, at a distance of 20 meters from the base of the pyramid. Memphis or Memphis is an ancient Egyptian city founded by King Mena as the first capital of the first central government in the history of the ancient world, and that was in the era of the ancient state, and it includes the worship of the god Ptah. And its current location is near Saqqara, 19 kilometers south of Cairo, in the village of Mit Rahina. The site also includes the Great Pyramid or the Pyramid of Khufu, which reaches a height of 138.8 meters, and is the only remaining monument to date from the Seven Wonders of the World. A UNESCO committee decided to include it in the World Heritage List in 1979. A number of experts, including George Riffart, the former head of the Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities and the former Minister of Antiquities in Egypt, warn of the dangers of random urban sprawl towards Giza and the paving and construction of roads or tunnels near the area. The Egyptian government had already started in the mid-1990s to build a highway near the pyramids. However, the anger and threat of UNESCO to delete the pyramids from the list of World Heritage made the Egyptian president order to stop the road project, and demands the Ministry of Housing to build a tunnel south of the pyramids, but the Egyptian Ministry of Culture and the Supreme Council of Antiquities reject the project, which led former Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak to seek UNESCO opinion on the matter.